Hey Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today for Spiegelman Scraps to share with you a Christmas in July layout that I created. That's the layout using some sequins from Spiegelman Scraps as well as my fuse tool. So I used the fuse and the sequins to create a photo shaker pocket. I thought that the photo shaker pockets in the Project Life projects were really fun, and because this is a picture of snow, my snowy house, I wanted to incorporate that look from the Project Shaker, the Project Life Shaker, into a layout. So I'm going to start the actual construction of this layout as you see here. This is a digital cut file, and I had the name earlier in the video, and it's actually a card, and you can see it's a number 10 size card. I blew it up in Silhouette Studio and turned it into a square shape so that I could then have the layers to create the background of my layout. If you want to just skip ahead to the photo shaker pocket, you want to go to about 2.5 minutes, and that will get you to that. So with the cut file, the white on white was the look that I was looking for, but I wanted to have a little bit of delineation as to all the different layers. So I just took my gray chalk ink pad and I chalked the edges, and you will see it is not all of the edges. I couldn't get my ink pad into all of the edges, but I wasn't really worried about that because literally I just wanted to add just a little bit of definition, and really it was to add more shadow so that you could see the different layers but keep the tone-on-tone effect that I was going for. So I am going to adhere all of these layers down now that I have inked them. I toyed with the idea of actually popping one of the layers, but it was going to get flattened once you put it in the album, and the weight of the photo pocket sort of negated the possibility of that happening and staying that way. It would have looked really cool if I'd framed the layout, but I decided that it wasn't worth the effort. So I'm just going to glue each layer down, and literally I've just got adhesive at the bottom of all of those layers so that I can lift and move things as I need to. My original plan, and you will see me do this once I finish the photo pocket, was to pop the photo pocket into one of those layers, but I decided that it was too much weight. So I slipped the photo into a page protector. This is a Pocket Life slot, and I have a bunch of photo pockets, Project Life pockets that aren't sizes that I like to use, or that I've decided I don't like to use. So I put it in a 4x6. This is not a 4x6 picture. I've put the sequence in, and the sequence that I'm using is called Wedding Bells. And so you can see that all three sides are already sealed. I just need to seal the sequence in the photo pocket. So I'm testing my fuse to make sure that it's warm enough, and I plug my fuse in 30 minutes before I want to use it and really let it heat up. I also always test my fuse. I slowly run it across the top, and that literally fuses. It's got a nice fuse. I'll show you that there, and that is it. So now I have that really cool effect, and I'm going to make you a little seasick. There you go. You can see the shaker. And it's like snow falling on the house. Isn't that cool? It really made me happy. So I tried it tucked between the houses. That was the original plan for the layout, but the sequence was too bulky behind the houses, and so I do end up putting it to the left there. I had an extra tree. The first time that I set this cut file up, I had been cutting previous to this on 8.5 by 11 paper. So I got some semi-cuts, but nothing that was usable on a 12 by 12 layout, and it wasn't going to work the way that the cut file was set up on an 8.5 by 11. So I used one of those trees to fill that empty space on the left-hand side there, and I am going to back the windows of these houses because while I wanted tone on tone, I do want little pops of color throughout the layout, and I like the way that the backed windows add some color to the layout as well. So I'm going to use that red there. I've got that peachy color on the other house, and then I'm going to use a light blue. And the top house, I'm going to not back that window, but there's just a couple of windows and you get the idea. I had also toyed with putting some vellum in, but that wasn't enough color and contrast. So then from here, I've got my shaker pocket, and I'm literally just going to embellish the page with other embellishments from this PinkFresh Studio collection. I'm going to use a couple of labels. I'm going to use a couple of the wood veneer pieces, buttons, those round things there, and a couple of the die cuts. I don't end up showing you the completed layout as it ends up in the photo, and so when I put the title on the page, I'm going to put the title directly above the photo. And my intent is where that hill is next to that deer on the right-hand side is where I'm going to put some journaling. The problem is that everything heavy ends up being on the left-hand side of the page, and I wanted to open that up a little bit so that it wasn't left dominant, and so I will end up moving the title later on, and you'll have seen that from the end of the video to the picture that you saw at the beginning there. So there's the other house backed. And what I just did before I put the backing on the house was some of the little trees in one of the pattern papers had texture on them. And so I did take a very fine black pen and I put in some, I'm just going to call them scalloped lines to define the tree on that top left. And then it looks silly all by itself. So later on you'll see that I will go ahead and do all of those triangle trees the same like I'm doing right there. And I will fast forward through that for the other two trees because it's not hard. You can visibly see all I'm doing is doing asymmetrical squiggles there. So those will be just a little bit more embellishment to the page. So there's not a ton of embellishment on the page. I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to keep the focus on that snow falling photo. So I've got a couple of the puffy elements, and that dark tree that's down the bottom there on that bottom left, I will move up to the top right. Because I end up moving the title, I also ended up needing to shift that tree because it's literally the only dark element on the page, but it's counterbalanced by the red in the title, which will be moved over to the right, and then the weight of the black in the shutters in the photo there, and that creates that visual triangle on my page, so that you have the weight of the tree balanced by the journaling in the title and then by the photo, and it moves your eye across the page there. So I had a hard time getting these trees to stick. I think just now was when I had a small temper tantrum with my adhesive. I really want to like the Scrapbook adhesives by 3L adhesives because they're portable, but they just don't roll very well, and the tape backing the tape that you've used, the paper on it keeps getting stuck, which means that the tape roller doesn't run, and when I'm filming video, I just don't have time to deal with that. So I'm sorry, 3L, but nope, not going to work for me. This is double-sided sticky tape, and I am just going to use that because this is a photo pocket or a page protector, really. There's quite a bit of weight to it because the sequence is in it as well, so I really wanted a nice strong adhesive to adhere the photo to the page there, and that's why I used the double-sided adhesive. Another thing that I do end up doing off camera, it's amazing the things that you see when you step away from your work and you give yourself a little bit of space. I am going to add 2 clusters of the same sequence that is in the sequence mix. So I'm going to use that wedding bell sequence, and it just looks like snow falling to add to that snow falling look that I've created in the photo by using that photo pocket there. So that, my friends, is my latest layout for Spiegelmom Scraps using sequins. So there's a bit of a tutorial, which we had earlier, and then this is just the finish of my process video and how I put this page together. So this is where I use some of the labels. I like to create depth in my layouts, and so the other bonus of using this double-sided foam adhesive tape is that because I've got the sequins sitting in the photo with the foam, adhesive for this particular piece here, and then also using that wood button piece. It lifts the page protector when I slide this page into an album off the page, and so it doesn't push the sequins then down into the photo. That was my only concern when I made the photo pocket and sealed all the sequins in there, was the effect that the sequins would have on the photo. But I print my pictures on a matte paper at home, and I've shook the shaker a fair number of times and it hasn't scratched the photo, so I don't have to worry about it too much. So I had to step away for a little while, which is why that just transitioned out like that. But there's the title work. So these letters are from they're Bella Boulevard puffy letters, and as I said earlier in the video, I am going to move them, and then I'm going to use some Evilicious other letters to finish off the title that says Snow Blessed, and then journal underneath those letters, because as you can see here, you can see how heavy that layout is on the left, and it really does need shifting over to the right to create balance on that page there. So that is my layout. Spiegel Mom Scraps on the YouTube channel is really close to hitting a major milestone, so be sure to subscribe if you don't subscribe. There are some big prizes to be won. Enjoy the close-ups to follow. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the box down below. Thanks for stopping in and joining me today. I hope you're doing well, and take care.